Welcome everybody back to yet another seed here in another matchup in the KH2 Randomizer Spring 2024 League. That's just 2024 League. I'm in the old habit. I always want to say spring or fall. My name is J-Obs. I'm joined on commentary by Little Herdez. How you doing?
Doing good. Hello. How are you doing, Hobbs?
I'm doing great. Actually was here for the first of the two back-to-back feeds that we got going on here, back-to-back races, the double header of the evening, and we had a pretty good race. It was close up until right about the end, so that was pretty neat. Double A Dewey taking what I would say I would consider probably to be a slight upset over Matthias, so that's very cool to see him moving along in the losers bracket. And now we're gonna take a look at another match in the losers bracket here between BDBonk and JaredWeakStrike. Losers round one in this case, which is wild to see these two names here.
Exactly. I know we were talking a little bit before this race, but we were talking about you're safe neither in winners or losers. You're just going to have to play your very best, and just hope that things kind of fall in your path and your way, so to speak.
Yeah, this is a very tough bracket. Everybody went through some asynchronous qualifying matches just to get into or to set the seeding for a set of 5 rounds of Swiss matches, and then went through those, and then now here the top 16 from them were brought into this double elimination bracket. It's a very tough one. So we kick off yet another seed here. This time starting with a fire and a torn page.
Hey, not bad. At least they can head the first 6 of 100 Woods if they just go immediately back. I don't think they will. I know I've seen some people once they start a torn page, they just go immediately backwards and just check the first 6, which is pretty interesting, but you kind of get it out of the way right from the beginning.
Yeah, I would do that sometimes, but I think in most cases we're not going to see that. We are seeing a slight difference in gameplay style here at the beginning, though, which is BDBonk grabbing all 3 chests, whereas Jared already skipped one of the early ones. Jared did pick up a filler chest in Pride Lane, so it looks like they're both, or at the very least, Jared's going to make most likely some just decisions, moment-to-moment decisions, and Jared barely avoiding a death there as the opening strategy did not work out for him, going for that reaction command for some reason.
Yeah, didn't get it. I don't know if he misinputted or if it just because you're guaranteed it at the beginning if this is your one of your first, I think, 2 visits, or as long as you just do into another fight, you at least get the reaction right at the beginning. Yeah,
it has to do with for anyone who doesn't know at home, this is an RNG manipulated fight in the randomizer, specifically because of the actions that have been taken up to this point. Yeah, the fact that they haven't gone into some other combat or done some other things that would change the values that are used to determine the enemy attacks. So it should always be a guaranteed reaction commit. It's a little scary there for Jared, but does manage to hold together. And gave a few seconds over to BDBonk because right now they are showing even here, but you can see by the lower of the 2 timers on each of their sides what their loadless time difference is, and BDBonk has a very slight advantage here.
Yeah, getting rewarded with a Peter Pan and magnet from the beginning. We'll see what else is here. Did get an aerial spiral, and it looks like they're starting to skip some chests pretty early on, just like we saw earlier in the GOA. Probably not going to go for every junk chest, just probably the ones that are in their path, just hoping for possibly a high drive recovery so they can revert out of forms once they start getting them, or at least get an accessory to just start boosting those stats that you eventually will need.
Accessories, some power magic boosts are handy, and like you said, the drive recoveries can definitely be helpful in a pinch as well. But you can see they're already skipping a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe each of them are just I just grab 3 to 5 chests or whatever, and then just bail on it. I'm in the camp of I just skip every gray chest unless it would take me longer to turn my camera to it than to open it. So I totally understand skipping the chest here.
I usually get them on the way. If they're especially Pride Lands, I'm here, I'm gonna get these, and then from there, depending on which worlds I'm in, I'll nitpick depending on if they're in the way or not. So they're getting actually pretty good movement so far. They almost got level 2 of everything except for the quick run, so they got pretty decent movement, but not being shafted on any of them.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you don't tend to care too much about how high of a level your dodge roll is, especially in these settings
Yeah.
where you're not fighting super bosses nearly as often as in like, some older league settings and stuff. So mostly what we care about those aerial dodges, glides, and quick runs, but handy to have some of that other stuff in your back pocket as well. Now, we're probably going to see a slight difference in where they go next here, I would imagine. Yeah, BDBonk heading into the world that never was to check the front 4 chests here, and Jared moving over to Land of Dragons. To recap what they got in Pride Lands, we saw Peter Pan, a magnet, and the world unlock for Olympus Coliseum, Battlefields of War. So very nice couple of tools. Well, yeah, a couple of tools there.
Yeah,
and always good to get a world lock early. Now, Pride Lands did not turn blue, is still possible for the proof and for other items, but they were, they did move on from there. And BDBonk actually finding a negative combo and a blizzard in the world that never was. So very good opening 4 there.
Yeah, and LOD, the front 3 were nothing but 3 junk chests. Jared did check 1, just got a armor piece, and then immediately left out.
Mm-hmm.
So both go into Halloween Town, with Jared going in there through the fight first, and BDBonk following closely behind.
And BDBonk making some good use of the camera centering ability in the game, or a mechanic in the game, something that I think not a lot of people use very often. I've seen Sonic Shadow Silver, makes frequent use of that as well, and using it to just get quick angles on a lot of these chests and be able to check them very quickly.
I always forget that there's that camera trick, and I just always manually rotate it, and it always feels like it takes forever just to rotate the camera. I forget about that quick snap that you can possibly do to get some quick looks.
The hard one to get used to, especially, having to click in the stick there, and R3 is what it's bound to by default. So like that is not the easiest thing to do very like with consistency, proper consistency and stuff. So
exactly.
Very cool to see that kind of strat.
Yeah, we did find a fire on levels. I think it was level 7 as BD just got it. And we also did find identity disc in one of the chests that BDBonk's about to pick up while Jared just finishes up the first fight here.
Yep, that identity disc could come in handy if Space Paranoids is one of the required destinations. Jared going to grab both the chests here. I'm going to get a drive form. Wisdom form is the ticket here, and a blue Halloween Town. So no more important checks there.
No more. So not bad, knowing that one world is done. You don't have to go any further. You don't have to worry about the world unlock, potentially just diving into there. So they can mark off one world, not have to think about it, and they move on. Yeah.
Very nice to not have to worry about that. You do lose like potentially a decent Valor leveling spot or a couple of spots, but that's not anything major. A lot of places you can level up Valor form when it shows itself.
Exactly. So both making their way through the front 7 of OC, finding a quick run, and I don't think they found anything else so far.
Nah, I think like an item slot or something. Nothing major.
Yeah. And that's about it. Yeah.
Jared going to head out of that one. So the difference here is really just that world that never was that BDBonk tipped into.
Yeah, and the stats, not leaning one way or another. They got pretty balanced stats so far. So that's pretty nice to see. Usually you tend to start to see them very early on. Once you start getting those levels from Halloween Town, they start to sway one way or another. But so far, pretty balanced. We'll see how the spread goes for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, balance can be scary sometimes, but in this case, it is balanced in offense and magic, or, in strength and magic, but like none in defense. So balanced is totally fine in this case.
Yeah.
Cure picked up in Disney Castle. Not generally the spell that you're hoping to get when you see one of those blue chests, but that is totally fine. And BD going to head into Space Paranoids here before Jared does. Jared probably going to go for... No, not going to push the mouse because Disney Castle turns blue. Yeah, with that membership card. So now you're hoping for a hint to Disney Castle because that would give you... Or Halloween Town for that matter. Either would give you some really great information. Exactly. Either eliminating worlds or completely narrowing your entire set of worlds down to just a few.
Yeah, so they're both going to hope that hint comes out pretty early. Same with at least Halloween Town. getting a Halloween Town hint as well early is not bad either, because you can narrow it down really, really easily as well too.
BD did pick up the picture and a reflect, first reflect of the seed here in Space Paranoid. So really great to see that as a nice combat utility. Currently sitting with a single Blizzard, Fyra, a magnet, and a reflect. So not a bad opening kind of magic kit to start with here. Obviously, you'd love to see a Thunder come into play soon and a second magnet, but otherwise, you got some tools to work with.
Yeah. Jared doing did the front six. I at least saw that at Pooh's house there was a gap closer. They did find Flash Step. I didn't see what's at Piglet's house, but Jared doing the minigame, most likely because with DC dying so quickly, or at least ending bluing so early, you're not getting those progression points off of the mini push and doing past Pete. So you got to find your progression points somewhere else to get that hint pretty early.
Absolutely, and we do get confirmation there that Piglet's house did not really have anything of note there. Yeah, and I see a lot of players also just deciding to make the 45-second investment for a progression point this early in the game. We can see BDBonk did not value that at quite the same level that Jared did, but they also went there before coming to Disney Castle, so not knowing that they would be most likely leaving this one before the escorts.
Yeah, so we'll see what's in Agrabah. Very first check, or second check, because the first check is the fight. Getting another magnet, so they have Magnera. Not bad to do a little crowd control, especially when you have membership card and you want to push into HP2. That Magnera is going to become really helpful in Bailey. Makes it very nice and easy.
Yeah, we can see BD also leaving Disney Castle as we would expect. So probably going to head over to Agrabah as well, and that is indeed where their next destination is. And we'll take a look at Jared then for the time being, because Jared's just going to be ahead of BDBonk throughout this world. They should tackle it in relatively the same fashion, at least we would expect to. And as you mentioned, yeah, Magnera, absolutely huge. The upgrade from 0 to 1 magnets is almost less than the upgrade from 1 to 2 magnets. It is quite a significant increase in utility there.
Did he take a quick look at the shop chest? Because it must have been so fast that I didn't see it.
I didn't catch it either, but I have to imagine that Jared saw it out of the corner of their vision at some point. Grabs a Valor form here within Cave of Wonders and is now going to head into the Abu minigame. We can try to take a look at BDBonk's side to see if we can tell what is in the shop chest there. I have to imagine it was a filler chest, though. I don't think Jared would have just passed on it without it paying any attention to it. Yeah.
Exactly. I always try to peer it when I glide over it, or I get that chest to the side. It's just you have trying to do it without getting hit by the white nocturnes and all the other enemies and dying is very difficult at the same time.
We can actually see it was filler, but BD taking a little bit longer to look at it.
Yeah. So with both those forms, especially Valor and Wisdom, a good leveling spot in BC. Immediately goes to BC to deal with all these Heartless, using Valor and actually finding a torn page on Valor 3. So they now have access all the way up to Kanga's house. So that push early, doing that first minigame, might come in handy if they need some quick points going through the Honey Slider.
Yeah, I'm usually against the 100 Acre in these settings, because that world cannot have a proof in it ever. With the way these settings are laid out, the proofs are at the ends of the story in all of the main worlds. But that being said, as you mentioned, it's a good source of progression points early on. It doesn't require any kind of combat tools until you get to Spooky Cave, where you want at least some movement tools. So it is not a bad potential play at all. We'll see if either of them make it. I suspect BDBonk's going to also... BDBonk going to go force Final Form already. This is honestly not a bad play. I think probably Jared is maybe making a slightly better call here in terms of check Beast Castle, maybe is going to check Hollow Bastion 1, maybe Twilight Town 1, but you really can't say. It could go either way at this point. So BDBonk going to force this one the slow way, going to have to just revert and constantly, reuse these drive forms to build up those anti points. Thankfully can at least build up 2 per room transition if they want, but they can't get Final Form on the second one.
Yeah, and I think a little bit, he did get Pitcher in SP, So I
That's
think that's
true.
kind of the swaying a little bit of like, hey, I have a little bit deeper access into Twilight Town, so maybe I want Final Form now just to try to get some of that progression and get Final up as high as I can get it to like level 5 already.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Like giving yourself, you do have extra incentive to go through Twilight Town. Now, that being said, Twilight Town 2 is not a visit with a lot of checks in it.
Yeah.
But it is still that extra little incentive. You're absolutely correct there.
Yeah.
Still definitely a little scary when Final Form could be sitting early in Hollow Bastion 1 or somewhere in Beast Castle here, or even in the Twilight Town shotgun. But sometimes if you are going to make that play to commit to forcing Final, the earlier you make that decision, as long as you don't end up getting burned by it later, the better. So not a very understandable choice here by BDBonk.
Exactly. And we see Jared doing a Thresholder, that Magnega coming in handy really good to hold back those gargoyles. I know they're a little bit of a pain if you don't kind of crowd control them. They can easily kind of snipe you if you're not prepared for it, or they're a little bit off camera.
Yeah, definitely. And didn't have any form of kind of fast way to do that fight outside of a cheeky Valor any percent beginner strat try to one cycle the Thresholder fight, but had already reverted earlier and didn't have the drive to be able to enter Valor form there. So just decided to deal with it and have a 2-cycle fight. Totally fine.
All right, he's making his way through the minigame, likes to destroy the box. I know some people don't like to destroy it. They just want to get good pathing with miss pots, and it looks like that's a world unlock.
Yeah, I think
that was a world unlock, and did actually find a money pouch here as well too. So gonna probably stock up in ethers or elixirs to get prepared for the rest of the seed. So not bad, and found Beast Claw in BC, so not bad.
And BDBonk did get their Final Form, deciding to go to Hollow Bastion first. You can get a free level 2 here. The other thing to note for that decision from BDBonk is that once you get 2 drive forms, your advantage from forcing Final increases by quite a bit, because now every drive form that goes to level 5 or higher is going to give you a progression point. So once you have 2 drive forms, Final Form gives you a 3rd, so now you can get each of those drives to level 5, and that's 3 more available progression points for you.
Yeah, so really going to be helpful, especially when he goes to Beast Castle, if he decides to go to Beast Castle here soon, to get either Wisdom or Valor up to level 5, rather than kind of sitting at the level 4. Yeah,
could get that Valor form in the Thresholder and Beast fights, and Wisdom in the opening fight.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting how he decides to level those up and where he decides to level those up. And there's our first Thunder. Jared finding it right after Beast, calming him down and going immediately straight to Space Paranoids to shotgun that, and gonna go get his Reflect and his Pitcher.
Yeah, interestingly, I would have expected Jared to turn around and just finish off Beast Castle 1 there, finish off the Shadow Stalker and Darkthorn fight, but decided not to. I don't know if they just weren't super happy with their current stats or the current abilities, but I would have been on the fence about it until getting that Thunder, and that tends to make it a little bit better. But maybe they were just still a little nervous about getting a windowless fight there, would prefer to come back when they know they can save as much time as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, either way, however Jared decided to play it, heading into Space Paranoids is a fantastic decision because we know of that Reflect. And now we're seeing BDBonk, after completing the Bailey fight, completing Hollow Bastion 1, deciding to go over to Twilight Town as opposed to maybe going further in Hollow Bastion with that membership card they both found in Disney Castle. I would say a little surprising, but at the same time, they're probably just sitting there still thinking about that Final Form play, really wanting to get that thing leveled on the station fight.
Exactly. We did get our first hint from BD actually finishing, I don't know if he got it before Jared. I don't think we made a mention of it, but it is LOD is on No Path to the Light. So it's going to be interesting to see when they both decide to go get some information, at least from there, if it directs them there or if they want to go there, especially with having all 3 magnets, Magnega, because it makes those mob fights very, very quick, especially the first 3 missions and the cave fight. It makes those super quick, and you can get a lot of progression points just by making that quick push.
And of course, BDBonk does not have that Magnega yet, but will probably end up in Beast Castle at some point. That's actually 2 seeds in a row. The back-to-back races here today both had Magnega in the shotguns, which is pretty funny. But also having Valor and Wisdom Form, another great place to level those are those missions in Land of Dragons. So definitely a possibility. Not sure it's something that I like personally would prefer as being, like high on my priority list at the moment, with the ability to go further in Hollow Bastion or a little further in Twilight Town. But at the same time, it's definitely a consideration, something that both these competitors have to be thinking about.
Exactly. So BD making it through a station fight so far, only finding another torn page. That's our 4th torn page, I think, collectively. Right? 1, 2, 3. No. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Because the one on Valor. So they have Spooky
Valor,
Cave. They have Spooky Cave access if they ever decide to push that far. Probably going to put it, like you said earlier, probably going to put it on the back burner just because of the time investment and the amount of checks, plus compared to them having membership card and, like Jared doing, going straight into Hollow Bastion 2 to go get those rest of those checks and most likely prepare for core. And if they go through that corridor fight, probably do core skip and see what's in core.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it more, I think BDBonk's play here, because I suspect BDBonk's going to go back to Hollow Bastion now. Yeah, this makes actually more sense than I was giving it credit for before, because BD's kind of prepping to be able to just head all the way up to the Dancers fight and through the Dancers fight if they want. Getting a few more levels on Final Form before coming back here means that he doesn't need to bail at Ansem Study or deal with, Final Form potentially running out in that, fight outside of the computer room in the corridors there. Just wanted a little bit more comfort there, get a higher Final Form level. That's why they bailed out at the base of the tower in Twilight Town as opposed to going further up.
We see Jared a little bit in HP2 already, finding a second having Reflare. So they have a good set of tools so far to kind of get through some easy, or at least get through some of the first visits of the worlds.
Especially Jared having that Thunder over BDBonk right now.
Exactly. And the extra magnet as well, too.
Sure.
It's going to be nice when at least they find Explosion. BD's going to have a little bit better time with just having Magnera compared to Magnera, just for the fact that the magnet pushes it a little bit higher when you have all 3 magnets compared to the 2, if they do eventually find Explosion somewhere. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they do find Explosion, if they find Explosion on their path.
Yeah, we'll see. You're never guaranteed to get it, so
exactly.
Can't play around fully expecting it or anything. Baseball Charm showing up there, so Chicken Little available to both of them now. And we can see what I think we expected. Jared left and is going to go ahead and push those Torn Pages. Can't quite get to Spooky Cave because while we know collectively where 4 of the Torn Pages are, each player only individually has 3. We'll see if Jared's just trying to grab these chests and leave, or no, is going to push us for progression points. Whereas BDBonk doing a menu here, likely setting up to go further in Hollow Bastion 2 with that Final Form advantage.
I did notice right now when he checked, they do have 2 accessory slots. He did get one off of the station fight, but no accessories to put on. I don't think they found any accessories, but then again, they're skipping a lot of junk chests, so you're really going to only get your accessories off those pop-ups from force fights, levels, things like that.
Yeah, it's how it goes sometimes. We're going to see BDBonk going with some fires into a reflect strategy as opposed to just spamming Magnega here. Not sure if one would be stronger than the other or anything, just the way that BD is deciding to play that one. And now the eternal question, do you core skip or do you not? Or do you just, do core in general? BDBonk definitely going to grab the first 7 here, I have to imagine, but might also go for a full core skip with their current moveset. I mean, they have Final Form, so you can get across that gap. It's just always a little sketchy, but did get once more, huge ability to grab there in core.
And we did see him get at least through that fight, did get his second hint, which is saying that the World that Never Was is on the path to non-existence. And with that Blizzard there, we potentially could see that at least Hollow Bastion, the only possible proof that could be there is non-existence. We don't know for sure, but that's the only one so far that could be there.
Yeah, it is nice to get, Hollow Bastion narrowed down like to be possible somewhere down to like 1 proof pretty early. Unfortunately, yeah, for BD not quite making it across the gap there. This is tricky with their current move set. I think with a level 2 quick run, level 3 aerial dodge, you could maybe make it without final. Like maybe just going across the gap, it'd be very close. I know with level 3 in both of those abilities, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
But level 2 in the quick run, that's a little bit harder. So opting for final form and unfortunately not quite making that jump. Didn't end up doing dancers either for the progression point, just deciding to go straight over to Port Royal. And I mean, their magic stat is looking pretty solid, pretty great here. They're sitting at 4 levels up over Jared thanks to those extra fights, and that magic stat's looking pretty good. So even though no thunder on BD's side, that blizzard should hopefully be enough, coupled with the magnets, to get through this world.
I think he'll be. I think the with a single blizzard, it's kind of close where you want to be in the high 20s, low 30s. I think for a single hit from the blizzard to kill the pirates. We'd have to see during the minute fight, but I know it's somewhere in the high 20s. At least with a Blizzara having a second blizzard, you want the high 20s. So I'm not too sure about the stat level you want for a single blizzard.
Yeah, and doing this before Beast Castle is like, I think in a lot of players' minds would be a little bit of a questionable decision, or at least that's kind of a gamble you're making, right? Going here instead of Beast Castle. We know, unfortunately for BD, that Thunder is sitting over there waiting for him there, as well as Magnega, which would help out in this world. But it is what it is, right? That it might turn out that world's not required at all, and Port Royal is. Like, that's the way Rando goes.
Exactly.
Gonna see, I don't believe either of them have found an EXP boost or anything, so not gonna be looking to do that in this fight. Could go for some Valor leveling, but at their current defense and health would be pretty risky. So I wouldn't be shocked if BDBonk is just gonna go for some kills here.
Exactly. Did find a glide actually in town, so he now has glide 3 and found another blizzard, an extra blizzard for this minute fight. So it's gonna make it a little bit safer because the blizzard should just one shot now. Yeah, it one-shots.
It's one-shotting everything, which is fantastic. Definitely helps out a lot. Jared going through Twilight Town now and having to go for a damage abuse as opposed to using final form to get through this station fight, because still has not decided to force final or anything. So Jared, we'll see, probably going to stop at the base of the tower, but maybe could go further. Be our first one to go up to the top of the tower and into Twilight Town 2. But not sure what they're going to choose to do. At this point, the players kind of diverging quite a bit in this one compared to at least the earlier race from today.
Exactly. So I do see that Jared actually, he might, if he doesn't push this, he might go straight back to 100 Acre Woods, because he did push up to Kanga's house and just got that 4th tone page that we were talking about earlier collectively. And since he's right at Spooky Cave, that's a lot of checks. And if you decide to do Spooky Cave itself, that's 2 progression points just for doing the escorting the kids through the cave.
Yeah,
so it's not bad, and it sets up Starry Hill too.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad call here at all. Like, I think you're right. That could make total sense. At this point now, with Jared climbing the tower, I don't think we'll see that before Twilight Town 2. Yeah. Although Jared doesn't have final, so if they want to save Twilight Town 2 as one of those spots where you can level final without too many problems, they could. But I don't know. At this level, I think a lot of players aren't always super like saving many fights outside of like the station fight or a couple others for dry form leveling. They'll figure out where they're going to level their forms later if they have to.
Yeah. So just pushing through the end of TT1 using Chicken Little just to pull them in, make it a little bit easier to not to let the shadows go into the ground. It actually helps and makes the fight go a little bit faster as well too.
Yeah, and also another option for Jared, Beast Castle 2 is still available, and actually finishing off the Beast Castle 1 boss. Both those are available for Jared if they decide to do that. Both players have the Olympus Coliseum unlock as well, so another world that they could push all the way through if they wanted to. But right now, the hints aren't giving them a ton of places they want to go. The World That Never Was is, of course, an option, but you generally want some higher stats before you head over there.
Yeah, so they're not going to get much information from the World That Never Was right now. Probably will eventually go there if they need to figure out what is pointing to non-existence.
Mm-hmm.
We did see that Jared actually did finish TT1 and found Genie at the top and TT Blues. So Twilight Town, there's nothing else there. So that picture really not doing much that you have it.
Yeah, so if there's a hint for Twilight Town anytime soon, it guarantees that the proofs there are in a torn page world. But we'll see. BD unfortunately knocking Barbosa into the shadows there, but does recover nicely. Gonna have to use one of those ethers, and actually was trying to heal Donald in order to go into Wisdom form just to avoid using an ether. Reminder that there was a money pouch found by Jared in Beast Castle, but BD has not found that one yet, so probably trying to still conserve those ethers quite a bit.
Yeah. We do see Jared actually deciding to do Spooky Cave all the way through. Did check the chests first, didn't find... Oh, actually, no, they did find Sword, yeah.
Yeah,
but
so
wanting the
Jared just wants the points. Yeah. I mean, this does get Jared another hint, so if they're sitting there going like, hey, I don't know where I want to go right now, because all of my options are like not perfect, and I don't have hints exactly dictating where, then I might as well do this. We get a hint in Agrabah for non-existence and peace that that has a magnet, a torn page, and so far Valor form. So this does, I believe, eliminate simulated Twilight Town, but other than that, we don't get like a ton of very actionable info from that. We're able to eliminate connection from a few more worlds, but it's the kind of thing that's just not going to like probably factor too much into the player's decision making as of yet.
Yeah. So BD taking that hint and immediately saying, hey, I can do this content. Let me just go push it to find more information on where these proofs possibly can be at. And finishing out a first visit, too, not bad. Agrabah's pretty... You have Magnera, you have your final form. It's going to make these fights pretty quickly, and actually decides to leave because he actually blues it with getting second chance as well, too. Yeah, so wow. Agrabah not having it either.
Yeah, that is another torn page world down, and the blue there, of course, does mean we have a definitive subset of worlds for those two proofs. If I'm not mistaken, I even think we could eliminate non-existence from simulated Twilight Town here. Peace could still be there, but I think... no, you know what? I think I'm mistaken. I think it could be if limit form is in the world it never was. Forgot that we have not found that one yet in this seed.
BD deciding to actually do the fights and not do core skip now.
Interesting. So, this is some pretty low... I mean, 37 magic is like nothing to scoff at. It's decent, but this is, these are some end game fights. They do have final form at least, that helps a lot, but also with BD not having a money pouch yet, you kind of expect to have to throw a bunch of ethers if you're using final form here. So this is a little sketchy. It's at least going to be on the slower end of the way these fights can go, but I'd be more worried about taking a death here. Thankfully, they do have second chance once more. That probably factored into their decision greatly. Exactly.
I think finding that second chance was like, okay, I now have a little bit of a safety net to at least get through the first fight safely. Just got to play it nice and cool, but get to the first fight, not bad. So we're gonna see what's in the rest of core.
And they got another hint from that fight as well. We got Pride Lands showing up with connection and peace being hinted there. That does, I don't know if that really does too much for us. I mean, it eliminates OC from non-existence, which it already wasn't. Yeah, it couldn't be done. I don't think that really actually gives us too much new info.
Yeah, it doesn't tell us too much. But we did actually, I did catch that Jared actually used auto limit and got to auto limit 3 and found a cure on level 3 of limit.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Not something that's going to help him out right now or anything, but could be a while before BDBonk finds that. So if Jared's able to turn drives blue faster, then that is quite some important knowledge to have.
Yeah, so Jared doing the dancer fight, getting the progression points, and gonna see what's in these next two chests and then see what he decides to do, whether he decides to push further into Hollow Bastion or go into core right behind BD. Ooh, Trinity Limit. Not a bad tool in case they do want to push STT. You now have something to make it a little bit quicker. You typically would want either a fire if you don't find Trinity Limit or actual limit. But they did find Trinity Limit, so it makes STT a little bit more inviting if they do have to end up going there.
BDBonk doing a great job to get out of a scary situation there for a second. Had to actually use Cure for its intended purpose and pop a heal on themselves and then try to survive with physical combos for a while before they had the chance to pop an ether. So very well handled there by BD. Absolutely, professional level play there.
And getting into the second fight.
Jared's now going into Land of Dragons. 2 proofs are potentially possible here. I want to also focus our eyes for the audience down on the tracker in the bottom right to point out the connection is now limited to 3 worlds: Olympus Coliseum, Space Paranoids, and Beast Castle. And our competitors have the world unlocks for all 3 of those. I mean, BD doesn't have the one for Beast Castle yet, but would get it by going through the first visit. So that is kind of funny, and also means that they have maybe a little bit higher value because you can fully finish off each of those worlds. But that being said, where Jared has a proof or a hint that leads to no proofs, which is very useful for narrowing more worlds down in a situation like now where you can't possibly mark anything as definitive yet.
Yeah. I didn't notice. I was a little confused of why BD left, but I just realized that he actually blued out Hollow Bastion while in core and just did the extra fight just for the progression points and just immediately left. So,
got that cure to finish things off. That could spell a potential like big late game swing or something if Jared ends up going further in that world without going to back to core, while BDBonk has perfect knowledge of it. But there are quite a few worlds hinted by the items that are there. So even if a new hint pops up there, it might not give a lot of new information to BD. But it's always helpful to know that Hollow Bastion's dead. That is just good info to have.
Exactly. You don't have to go through Final Fantasy fights. You don't have to go through 1K. You know what's done. You're in, you're out. And it's just especially when you have to decide, especially in Jared's case too, deciding, do I just push the world all the way through or do I go do core to see if it blues in core? It's always a rough decision just to try to figure out which one's faster. Do I try to go for a potential proof or do I take the time and finish out core and do my due diligence just to make sure?
Yeah, we saw that decision factor in quite heavily in the first of our 2 races tonight. So Space Paranoids is our next hint. Space Paranoids has no path to the light, which eliminates the reflect worlds from any of the proofs, and they were only viable anymore for the proof of connection, which narrows proof of connection down to Olympus Coliseum. So we can be certain that one of our proofs is there if our players, at this point right now, BDBonk, if they're able to make that deduction, then that will likely be one of the next places they go. You can see them eliminating reflect worlds at the moment on their tracker. Now, Pride Lands, so where BDBonk is right now, I think this is actually a wonderful play. There's such a good chance that Pride Lands turns blue by the end of Scar. And also, it's not like, especially the hyenas before him, are not a fight that you need to spend a ton of brain power on. So it's a good place to be like, I'm going to make a small-ish time investment to potentially get more info and let me think about logic. And in the same way, Jared's going to get the same kind of results from the Summit fight here. But Jared did not just get a new hint yet. They don't have that Space Paranoids one yet. So I love Pride Lands as being a location that's perfect for that kind of thing. So I think that could help that could have been why BDBonk came here.
Yeah. Especially with and I also think a little bit too is getting that Proud Fang on Wisdom 4 kind of swayed it a bit, but we're trying to narrow down at least some of these, if the page worlds are being hinted, seeing like, hey, is it potentially here or can I eliminate another page world and I don't have to worry about pages anymore? Mm-hmm. So immediately goes back into Pride Lands 2 to try to see, hey, can we get this done? It's also a pretty good, it's pretty fast to get progression points. Hyenas 1, Scar, and I think you get a progression point at least on Hyenas 2. So it's a quick set of points for not that much trouble.
Yeah, their strength is not the highest though. And I don't know if they have Berserk Charge or not. I haven't quite caught that as we've been tracking the 2 throughout this race. So fighting all the way through Ground Shaker could be a little bit scary. But they could, of course, just leave after returning to the Oasis.
Yeah, I don't expect them to do Ground Shaker, like you said. I think I did see one of them pick up Berserk Charge, but I can't jog my memory of who picked it up. But with the strength stat being where it's at right now, I doubt that they're going to push Ground Shaker unless they are confident that, hey, it's on Ground Shaker.
This is interesting. BDBonk going with some physical combos as opposed to just spamming Blizzard here against the Hyena. A little bit of an odd choice there, but maybe was just worried about consuming more ethers. I'm not sure.
We did get our next hit, though. Port Royal is on the path to connection and non-existence. And only finding a Blizzard there so far.
Yeah, so I mean, the most you can kind of get out of that is thinking if you had not already blued Hollow Bastion, you would think that there's yet another, like good odds that that Hollow Bastion could be one of your proofs, could be your proof of non-existence. But we obviously know it's not, has already been turned blue, and BDBonk knows it's not as well.
Yeah,
so
and at least it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you please.
I was gonna say at least it eliminates one more non-existence for STT. So we know that if it is a proof there, we're just looking for the peace hints. Just to
I
see
think that had
how many more
already. That's true. Yeah. It does get rid of that. We I think we're already potentially narrowed down on that. Maybe we weren't. Yeah. So that does help eliminate that as well. We could take a look from that tracker in the bottom right that the non-existence worlds are narrowed down now between Land of Dragons and Pride Lands, and the peace worlds are a little bit more open. STT, Land of Dragons, Pride Lands, and the World Never Was, and Port Royal there. So for these players, a little bit tough to try to figure out those last two, but the proof of connection should be they should both know at this point where it is, now that Jared has gotten the equivalent hint for Space Paranoids.
Yeah. BD using screens to level up all their forms, Wisdom and Valor to level 5, get those progression points, and getting a little bit of extra levels as well too, just to try to get their stats up, but didn't spend too much time there without an experience boost. Leveling up there takes quite some time once you kind of hit like level 26, 27. That gap to get the next level kind of widens a lot. So leaving almost immediately once they get their levels, not a bad choice. Save some time, try to get your level somewhere else.
Yeah, and the hint they got there, Twilight Town being on the path to non-existence, does eliminate Land of Dragons and Pride Lands from peace, from being potential locations for the proof of peace, but they are still available for the proof of non-existence. In fact, they are still the only two remaining for that. So doesn't help decide between those two worlds or anything, but it is still helpful for when they are inevitably looking more towards that peace proof. And BD going to finish off this world. It is no longer a viable proof world, and they are aware of that, but just going to go ahead and get the information. Not only is it progression points, but if this boss has something on it, then it would eliminate another world potentially. So they get an EXP boost, which is just very rude. They at least have it now, I guess. But thankfully the stats have been pretty okay to them this seed. At least the magic stats doing okay. The strength could be a bit better, but could be worse.
Could be worse, yeah. So we'll see where BD decides to go. Looks like he's preparing
Jared
for something.
Grabs Master Form in the throne room, and that is all she wrote for Land of Dragons. So that at least does help Jared in a massive way of eliminating Hollow Bastion. Is not going to run into that issue now of, which way do I go when I revisit Hollow Bastion. So that is helpful. And then Jared's going to head into Pride Lands and kind of follow suit to what we saw from BD earlier. But definitely a significant time investment to only get a dry form out of it. Can be a little scary.
Yeah. Gonna get some good info, actually, if they decide to full clear Pride Lands. Just because of that peace hint that's there as well, too. We see BD doing Roxas right now without limit form, doing a nice loop. 1, 2, yeah, doing an air combo with a 1, 2, 3, and then doing another jump 1, 2, and then quickly drop down and then do a guard. Kind of keeps him in this loop that he has him in right now. kind of got a little bit off though, so now has to
Well,
kind of improvise.
they're at 1 HP, so I think just wanted to pop into limit form there to be a bit safe, because there was not really a good safe time to pop a potion. Unfortunately, having to do the exact same thing and going a little late on that ether usage, couldn't quite get into the Ars Arcanum for the stun lock there, so this is a little scary now. Do you revert so that you have access to your reflex, or do you just go with the guards? It's always terrifying once those lasers are moving around. But gonna go with the guards so they can stay here in limit form. Meanwhile, because of Land of Dragons turning blue for Jared, that does let us know that Pride Lands does in fact have the proof of non-existence. So we know that both players going through the first visit and, in BD's case, part of the second visit, it was definitely not in vain.
Yeah,
Very
nice
solid.
recovery.
Yeah, very solid from BD to keep that one alive.
Got a little scary in the middle, but recovered with a little bit use of the auto limit, and that's kind of rude getting another blizzard right then and there too. So they do have all the blizzards now, but yeah, very nice recovery, good solid fight. So we're gonna see what else is behind Roxas.
Yeah, and if you're BD here, you're really hoping not to get... I mean, BD doesn't have a Thunder, so BD's probably hoping for a Thunder, but a Thunder and Torn Page don't narrow down that proof of non-existence for BDBonk. So that would be, less helpful than something like a Fire here.
Yeah. Gets not Chicken Little, it gets Stitch as well too. So I think this world, really wanted to bait you with going to Hollow Bastion.
Yeah, and a Fire can't be here because they've already found them all. I just realized.
Yeah. So it's not Hollow Bastion. BD knows that. So it's kind of a little, I think as a runner, if I saw those three, I would be kind of a little frustrated because I put in all this work, but I'm still getting no new information.
Mm-hmm.
So just pushing and continuing on.
I think Jared might be about to make the exact same play here. What's interesting is Jared should be able at this point to narrow down non-existence. So, okay, Jared's actually leveling some drives here first. Might still go into the fight, or might just be looking to level drives, trying to get to the next hint or something.
Yeah.
I believe they have drive converters available, and Jared just doesn't have them equipped, so could even do Master Form here, but it would be a fairly slow place to do it. But they're not going to quite be able to get a new hint off of just Valor and Wisdom.
Not yet. I wonder if they're going to do auto limit. Probably not. Going to go straight probably into Roxas, not take the time to take the damage boost just to get that extra level on auto limit. Yeah, go straight into Roxas.
I think I gotta call it out. I think this is a misplay for Jared. For BD's sake, BD hasn't done Land of Dragons, right? So that is, they're still trying to narrow down the non-existence proof, and this could make perfectly fine sense because of that. But for Jared's case, Jared should be able to narrow that down. So either they haven't taken the time, or noticed yet in the heat of the seed, which is very understandable. They either haven't noticed that they can narrow down that non-existence yet, or they're doing this anyways to eliminate maybe Peace Worlds. But I think that there's better plays here. I mean, especially when they know Olympus Coliseum is sitting there as the proof of connection world, and they have every tool they need to be able to finish that world.
Ooh. Was trying to use Trinity Limit, and just quite didn't work. But yeah, it's an interesting play. Probably just wanting to narrow down those Peace Worlds, like you're saying. We still don't know if it's STT or if it's one of these magnet worlds. Those are the only three worlds that are left, whether it is Port Royal, here the Wilderness was, or in STT. So it's probably wanting to push this just for 1 levels because they are a little bit low. Try to get levels as you go up. But trying to find more information on this piece.
Yeah, but I still gotta. I mean, I'm actually gonna extend this now over to BDBonk as well. Like, there's really no reason not to be doing Olympus Coliseum right now. And while they don't have a hint for that world at the moment, you might get one by the end of the progression points that you get there, right? And you will at least for sure come out with a proof.
Yes.
So it's a little bit of an odd choice. And then on top of that, they have Pride Lands, which at least that is a bit more difficult to do without your Berserk charge and everything. It's a bit trickier, so maybe they're just a little bit worried, but I still think it would make more sense to chase those two worlds. Again, BD can't quite narrow it all the way down to Pride Lands, but for Jared's case, they can. I think it would still make a little bit more sense to be doing that than a world that just might have Proof of Peace.
Yeah, Jared taking another death. Lasers spawned on top of him and really didn't have anything to react to that. So took another death and going to try going after Roxas again, trying to get that loop in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going for a kind of a variant on the Fast and Furious strategy here used by the critical mode speedrun. Using some physical attacks to push Roxas into a retaliation and then double reflecting for a lot of damage. They are just at the stat floor for magic right now, just a little bit over, I believe, for Roxas in particular. And that means reflect is going to be the name of the game. That's where you're going to get all your damage from right now.
Yeah.
And it's hard to land it sometimes, like hard to make sure all that damage lands.
Yeah, even with Reflera, I'm seeing a little bit struggle on that air reflect that's coming in. It's sometimes not fully hitting and sometimes M. Baby Reflect is tough with this, but Reflera is a little bit easier, but it's still not a guarantee that it's going to hit. You just got to kind of position yourself and play a little risky on when you use that Reflect as close as possible, because he gets pushed back and you want those Reflect to hit.
Yeah, and there we go. Jared is able to finish off that fight this time as BD grabs that cure on limit 3 that we knew about, using auto limit to their advantage here in the Luxord fight. But yeah, I gotta say, this just feels a bit of a weird decision from both of them. I'm really curious, and I would love to know from the runners later if they just haven't put together that like connection is for sure Olympus yet, because they especially we could see on Jared's side that it's the only world marked with connection, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like the only world you're thinking could be it. It just might be that the other ones that you're thinking it could still be in might also potentially have something else. So I'm just, yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of puzzling me right now, is why neither of these two are in Olympus Coliseum at the moment.
I think it's like you're saying, where Jared only has it marked on just for OC. Collectively on the outside, we can see that it's OC. We know enough about both sides. They should start to kind of narrow it down as well too, with these hints. But I don't think they just have enough information where those hints are coming in for connection to kind of really definitively say, I need to go to OC.
No, they do have the info. It's just Jared right now, like you can see based on what Jared has marked on their tracker.
True.
The only other place connection could be in their head would be Space Paranoids, but the hint in Space Paranoids eliminates that world. So
True.
Might just not have put that part together yet or something. I don't know. But what I do like from Jared here is I like, after taking a couple deaths on Roxas, I like this adaptation, or maybe it was the plan all along, but coming over here and saying, I'm going to do screens, get some levels. I don't think Jared has any form of EXP boost, but still coming through it and just deciding, I can just get some amount of leveling done here, even if I can't EXP boost it. I just think it makes sense to adapt your play there based on how tough that last fight was for you. And we'll see if that works out for Jared or not. Little weird to do without EXP boost, but this also is probably giving them some time to think.
Yeah. Getting Stitch actually helped probably point them in this direction, say, hey, now I have something to, level here on screens. So probably using Stitch, obviously, not to kind of burn through ethers, even though they probably have a lot, but with not enough item slots, you kind of don't have, much to use without Stitch, or you can't get much levels. BD getting a money pouch on Syax, still continuing on through the world that never was, and actually got our next hint, which actually shows that Beast Castle is the path to all lights. So,
yeah, and that does eliminate Simulated Twilight Town from now being a possible peace location, because Proof of Peace has just been hinted too many times now.
Yeah. So we are down to a 50-50 on this piece.
Yeah, it is down to the World That Never Was or Port Royal, which retroactively makes this play potentially fine. Final Form popping up on level 34 there, I think for both of people at the same time, which was pretty funny. Yeah. But yeah, the other EXP boost is, wow, these were mean experience boost locations.
They were rude, yes.
But yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record, but somebody go to Olympus. Just go to Olympus. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we need to see what's in Olympus. So you're eventually gonna have to do it. We know that it's there. You're eventually gonna go through it. They've had the world unlocked since the beginning. I'm pretty sure that's in the back of their mind. But trying to narrow down these other two, I think, were what their goal was. Because with the guaranteed knowing of, hey, connection is in OC, I already have the world unlocked. I'm just now narrowing it down to non-existence and peace. I can push these other worlds to try to narrow them down. That could be their mindset in this, that we just don't know what's going on them personally inside their head. We're outside looking in like, hey, just go to OC, get your proof. But they may be saying, I already know it's there. Let me go do other content to narrow down this information.
Yeah, but that's still like kind of a backwards way of thinking about it, because you might as well do content that is guaranteed to be required, hoping you get lucky and it provides you more information on the other locations before doing stuff that you might not have to do to try to narrow down those. Just a little bit of an odd call there, but we are going to see Jared go back to the World That Never Was. I guess they both just got a big hunch. I'm curious, just from the caster desk here, what are we thinking? Do we think it is a Thunder or a Torn Page that is sitting here somewhere in the World That Never Was, either on Final Xemnas or his data variant?
I was thinking it's probably going to be a on Data Xemnas. I was thinking that it was going to be a Torn Page. Okay,
I'm thinking of Thunders here, so
we're
split. We'll find out soon, or we might not. Or if it's on Data Xemnas, we might not find out. It's Torn Pages on Final, and it turns out no proof.
Yep. So we know that Peace is in Port Royal. I forgot that world for a second. So do we know where this world unlock could potentially be? I think we do with all the
Twilight Town and Pride Lands are both possible still. Now for BD, this actually doesn't make Pride, like this actually doesn't tell BDBonk the 50-50 between Landed Dragons and Pride Lands. So once again, go to OC. It's right there. just go to Olympus. It's right there.
It's right across the GOA. It's not a world. It's a world that still exists.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, yeah, I am getting pointed out in chat. Yeah, I had my logic correct there for me. There was no hint towards connection on the World That Never Was, so it had to be a Torn Page there, not a Thunder. Thank you so much, y'all, for catching that. But this is still, from BD's perspective, as far as I can tell, like unless I'm missing something, I think this is still a 50-50 between Landed Dragons and Pride Lands for BDBonk. So obviously, out of those two options, if you are committed for some reason to going to that proof, like maybe you just haven't put it together where connection is yet, then it absolutely makes more sense to go here, because BDBonk has already pushed a bunch of this. You might as well finish off this world. So from that perspective, like totally makes sense. But this
also doesn't have the sword
still 50-50. That's true. Yeah, the other reason that it would make more sense to go here for sure.
Did find a Berserk charge at the top of the World That Never Was. I did notice that. So actually got a nice Berserk charge to be able to do Ground Shaker pretty easily.
Yeah, that does help him out here quite a bit. We'll see if BD, who has not really been updating their tracker from like a logic perspective, so we can't try to make any insights off of that. We'll see if they have kind of put it together that Olympus Coliseum is the next place to go after this, or if they are going to head somewhere else. Of course, BD already has completed all of Port Royal 1, so does need to try to find that world unlock to get any further in that world.
There's non-existence, and Pride Lands is blue now, so we know that Skill and Crossbones can't be here on Data Psyx, so we're going to have to look for it somewhere else. Probably going to go to Beast Castle, right?
Beast Castle would make like perfectly fine sense. I think. Okay, BDBonk has put it
Finally
together.
going.
So they're coming to Olympus. This is absolutely I think just objectively correct play. Has been for a little bit, but especially now. You do this, maybe you are absurdly lucky and you luck into skill and crossbones here. If you don't, that's fine. You can go start chasing other places. You could chase your Beast Castle. You can chase, Beast Castle or Drives are really the only two hints they've got at the moment.
Well, Chat did point out to us that we already know that there's a magnet in Beast Castle, which means
you're right. Yeah.
Skill and Crossbones has to be on Drives.
Yeah, so BD doesn't know this by any means, but that's true. We know that Skill and Crossbones is on Drives there.
So that Master Form that Jared found in Throne Room might come into play.
It absolutely could. That absolutely could be. If auto limit up to 5 is not anything for BDBonk, and if auto master is buried somewhere, then that Master Form could be huge. Or if it's just on any level 6 drive and limit forms kind of buried.
Yeah, so we'll see. We don't know what's in OC. Could be limit here and could just end up being on limit 5 or 6.
That would be very funny if limit's here and it just kind of solves all the problems for him. But yeah, can't know.
All right, so Jared going through Psyx, found Duck Flare at some point. It's on a staff, obviously. I don't know if it was in the shop or just found it while opening up weapon chests, but does have Duck Flare and putting some Duck Flare strats to good use.
Yeah, little surprising given that magic is the more dominant stat for them right now, and generally Duck Flare is going to be more helpful when your strength is your higher stat. But just trying to get as much damage in as they could before going into final form handles it pretty well. It does feel like some of these fights for Jared in The World That Never Was have unfortunately not super gone their way. I wouldn't say that they've gone like spectacularly for BDBonk either, but it's just been a bit of a struggle for both of them.
Yeah, a little bit rough. The RVs, the retaliations, just kind of not playing nice today. So they just had to kind of improvise a little bit once it started to go a little bit sideways. But both recovering pretty well during those fights and showing us why they're in the top 16.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Jared is going to be catching up on some info that we have already seen from BDBonk, including this final form for a little while until they can get it all the way to level 6. And BD is going to be providing some new information here after Earns has kind of gotten through that slower portion in Olympus Coliseum now. Oh, Jared. Trying to grab that EXP boost, getting slapped in the face. Happens, doesn't want to revert here and, pull Stitch out. Is on the table if they need to, but they can also just interrupt the attack there. So really like the adaptation there from Jared. And is still trying to level that final form as he goes up the climb here.
Wanting that experience boost because levels still isn't quite done yet. They're at level 38. They still got a couple more checks on levels. So, a form that they need could also be there. Limit could be on levels, and it could be on a Drive 7. I don't want to commentate a curse, but I put it out there, so we'll see.
Yeah,
we want content, right? The race is dope.
And unfortunately, Jared did end up dropping out of final form there, so not going to have the drive to go into some kind of cheeky auto limit here or something. BDBonk picks up a scimitar as the first important check here in Olympus Coliseum, and did grab Combo Master as well from the previous room. Very helpful ability to have. And that jackpot could come in handy if they have to go for that Master Form later. Yeah,
they have both jackpots now, both drive converters, so makes leveling up Master pretty quickly, especially they can go back down to Luxor's room in The World That Never Was to use the Gamblers to get that Master Form up really quick.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very possible location for it. You can see Jared working through Xemnas 1. Good extra delay on that reflect timing there to make sure that they were able to connect the damage, protect themselves. They have once more, but they are missing out on that second chance at the moment. Have not quite gone back to Agrabah like we saw from BDBonk, and unfortunately did not get the timing they were looking for out of that Trinity limit. This is going to be a tough battle now for Jared to try to still skip this building. And this is kind of what I was talking about before. Jared's doing a good job of keeping these fights alive, but they're all having kind of smaller things like this happen due to the lower stats when they decided to enter here.
Yeah. So getting building, but is going to get the kill here as he drops down while BD makes it through. OC Pete did find a Reflect right after or right on Demic. So they now have Reflega as well too. So it's going to be pretty nice when they go through the final fights to have all 3 Reflects for that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, if this is a level 7 drive form to get skill and crossbones, Jared's going to win this race. Absolutely, because Land of Dragons, unlike the Sword of the Ancestor, was on Spooky Cave. That is going to be low on BDBonk's priority list of places to search for that world lock. So it's, it might not matter, it might not end up mattering, but that could be massive. And I'm of course exaggerating a little bit. It will still come largely down to the execution and the routing here from both players, but that would be a huge advantage for Jared.
Yeah, the fact that they did push that, did get the master form, don't have to push all that content, and blind hunt for 2 things really, a form and a world unlock.
Yeah, exactly.
BDBonk making
grabbed.
It through.
Yeah, another Reflect as they made it through
Hades.
The Hydra.
Hydra.
Now they'll turn around surely and continue onwards. Should be able. Oh no, they can't get Final Form any higher level at the moment. So fortunately, they won't be able to turn around and get a level 6 on on the. What do you call that fight? The Dusks fight?
I call it the Orange check or the Orange statue check. Yeah, the Orange fight. That's what
I was gonna say, like Hades
to.
Chamber fight.
I don't know. I don't know what the official name is, but yeah, I just call it the Orange statue check because that's where you end up getting it vanilla. So you can call it the Nobody's fight in OC because I don't think you fight Nobody's anywhere else other than that location.
True.
So it's another name. So, but yeah, that's their next check in OC, and like you said, not going to be able to get any more final levels because they don't have that master form.
And chat's bringing up a good point too, that Jared's drive leveling does have the advantage too of being able to get master form higher during Olympus Coliseum. Specifically, the Hydra fight, you can actually get quite a few levels on it, generally to 3, maybe even 4, if you're lucky enough. And you can also level it in those 2 fights that we just saw BD have to do before heading in towards Hades Chamber. So you slow your movement down a tiny bit after the 2 fights by using Master Form there, but you can always revert. And we'll see if that how that plays out. Jared is opting for Pride Lands first, similar to what we saw from BDBonk. But we'll see if he heads over to Olympus after this.
Yeah, so BD going to go through this Nobody fight, and then going to head to Hades. And then he's going to decide to, well, he only has really one place to go if he's narrowed it down to, that it is in Port Royal, which by the hints probably should by now. But we don't know. But we'll probably head to BC to see, hey, am I going to get the skill and crossbones or am I going to get a magnet? Going to find the magnet, and then it's going to realize, hey, I have to level up drive, so now I'm on a drive hunt.
Yeah, I that's fully what I would expect here out of BDBonk for sure.
So does OC finish here on Hades, or do we think we're going to see Zexion have something for us?
I think it's probably just going to finish off with the proof here. It would be kind of funny if limit form's there. Unfortunately, Jared not dealing enough damage here in the fight, the ground shaker fight. This is kind of what I was worried about earlier with their stats. But now their stats are looking okay, but now Jared has to be careful because the fire comes into play from here on out. So I have to be a little nervous there.
I don't think Jared put on Berserk Charge because they didn't use Berserk strats. So
yeah, that
was
might
trying
have
to
been
just power through it with just the stat that they had.
All right, there's proof of connection for BDBonk and straight over to Beast Castle as we would expect. We obviously collectively... Oh, wait a minute. Heading over to Simulated Twilight Town. And now, boy, this is a mistake.
This is an interesting play. I wonder what he's looking for. Has he not narrowed it down to
I have
Royal?
to. I gotta imagine, right? That must be the case. Is I don't know why you would do this. The only other reason to do this would be to try to get limit form or something, or master form, right? But that just doesn't make sense to do before Beast Castle. Like, unless it's a meta play, thinking, oh, well, my opponent would have already done Beast Castle. But even still, it could be in Beast Castle too. So, like, I really think this is an odd choice here. This is interesting.
So might be playing off that, misreading the tracker as chat said, but might be playing off that Agaba hint and just not realizing that there's enough piece hints to kind of, deduce this out. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think in the heat of the race, I think it's just probably likely that BDBonk has not narrowed down the piece location yet. They have all the info they need to be able to do it, but they probably just haven't been able to make that qualification yet, and so they went for out of the 2 remaining worlds that made sense to them here, STT and Beast Castle, they went for the one that would help eliminate Peace Worlds. That's the only thing I can imagine, is that they just haven't quite put that logic together yet. Hopefully we see them leave here soon.
They did. I think they realized once they stepped in and couldn't leave, they had to get to this point and just said, okay, let's leave. Yeah, immediately going back to Beast Castle. You're
right. That's probably what happened. They probably went there, didn't realize, there's been enough peace hints. It can't be here. We're going to now leave. But like you said, you have to get up far enough before you can end up leaving the world. So probably absolutely what happened there.
It's a good thing it's not old school jail, right?
Yeah.
You would have been stuck in there.
Back when you're stuck for the entire time.
Exactly. So gonna go through BC, gonna immediately get the magnet here, and it's gonna be interesting to see if they decide to go further or they immediately leave and try to just look for forms. Because a form could be just sitting here, a limit form.
I was gonna say, like, the funny thing is, because I feel like they would just stay here, right? Like, they got the magnet. It looks like that's what they're gonna do, but they could potentially leave in Bell's room. But it's like you're saying, there could be a form here. We don't even know. Their limit form could be here. We still don't know where that one is. There's nothing pointing, like, none of the forms point to any of the proofs. So there is no, like, you can't follow a hint to try to find a form. So you might as well just do worlds with a lot of checks, and it's either here or LOD at that point for BDBonk, or you could argue 100 Acre. So I don't think this is a bad play at all.
No, it's not. What I also find really funny is this is going to be his first Thunder, and it's the only Thunder we know. Well, we know where the other Thunders are, but it's still going to be their first Thunder an hour and 10 minutes into the seed.
We still don't know for certain. Maybe we can actually figure it out for certain.
There's a Thunder in STT.
STT and Port Royal, I think.
Yeah, there's a Thunder in STT and Port Royal. Those are the last 2 Thunders.
Yeah, they have to be the last 2. So yeah.
They'll get one towards the end.
We can figure it out, but
they'll get another one in time for GR2.
Most likely, yeah.
If
not necessarily. It could be on Luxor.
Could be. Yeah, that is very true, actually.
Yeah, it could be on Data Luxor. I'm not sure. I guess maybe there's some kind of one cycle I'm unaware of there with a Final Form Reflect, because that was interesting. I was unsure what BDBonk was doing.
I think it's the same strat that when you're not in Final Form, you can, if you get hit by the gargoyles and you use Reflect and you have the Shadow Ball there, you can do a one cycle with it. It does enough damage to one cycle it.
Interesting.
And I think that's what he was trying to set up to one cycle it, because he doesn't have Trinity Limit, which is right after Dancers.
Definitely clear that he was trying to set something up. That one's just new to me. That was very interesting.
I've seen it. It's very difficult because, especially when you don't have any forms, and you have a reflect and you want to set it up, you kind of have to proc the gargoyles to also try to hit you right next to the Shadow Ball. Yeah, and it's just really awkward to set up.
I have enough time
to get favorable.
I have enough of a hard time just trying to get the stupid. We could actually see BDBonk going straight to this world unlock, hoping it was the Skull and Crossbones. But I have enough trouble just trying to get the bats out of my way if I'm doing the limit form strategy. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's tough.
I haven't even tried it because I'm like, I don't want the gargoyles to accidentally snipe me and my reflect coming out too late. I don't want the bats to kind of stun lock me. Let me just get through the fight. So
tricky one.
It's pretty cool to see though.
It unfortunately didn't quite work out for BDBonk there, but no major time loss going for it.
All right, so we'll see. Probably most likely going to go through the rest of this world and just blew it out, unless they decide that, hey, I'm going to try and look other places for a form. But I think at this point, you're in a blind hunt for your limit form and your master form. You're just going to start pushing content.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And also, it's a little harder. It's, so much of your time is spent, so much of your brain power and your time is spent reasoning out where the proofs are when you do these seeds, that it's a little bit harder to reason out the secondary things, like where the fact that your world lock has to be on drives now, right? And especially when it could have been on Beast Castle for a little bit there. It does look like BDBonk is going to at least buy some ethers, buy 76 of them.
I think 70. Oh, and there was Flood Force in the shop.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, it does pop back into Beast Castle. So gonna finish this one out. I don't think there's any reason they would come to do the first visit without just doing all of it. But yeah, that's a bit tougher to make that evaluation, right? That realization. So it is definitely a tougher thing to do. And even if they do, like you said, it's just kind of, you got to just do whatever content you can do. So all eyes on Jared for the moment as we see if one of these early master form levels has our world unlock, that skill and crossbones that we're looking for.
So nothing on 2. Well, most of the checks have been pretty early, so it would be very generous if it was. But does have enough to at least get to Master 6 in some places. Probably won't get it here, but we'll get some decent amount.
Some of those drive orbs, but probably going to run out of master form before the end here. Should be able to pop into it a second time. Oh no, actually only has 7 drive gauges. So I thought they had 8. So unfortunately can't get some extra here. We could see, if we look back at BD,
had Auto Master somewhere. So if
that's huge.
In the first 5, then doesn't have to go all the way through LOD. But any higher than that is going to have to look for that master form or that limit form.
Auto Master with second chance once more as well. Surprised they still unfortunately did take a hit there, but they are. Oh no, right, they were death abusing. What am I talking about? That was intentional.
Master 4.
And there it is, Master 4. So that is going to spell, BD's victory here, if I had to guess. Jared still has to go through Olympus Coliseum 2 and level master form to 4. Now they might do that right here. They could do that ready right here. Yeah, they're putting drive converters on, so that at least helps.
Jared hasn't done any of PR yet.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's right. BDBonk's done the whole first visit. So yeah, this is definitely BDBonk had to push some story there and is now going to head into Port Royal 2. But yeah, this is at this point BDBonk's race to lose. But Jared is gonna did just get it. Just got the skill and crossbones as well. So
and is just gonna power through the rest of this content and head straight into PR right afterwards. And we see BD in PR2 right now. So it's gonna be nice. It's nice that actually BD at least pushed all the way up to Beast to get that Thunder. Is gonna make GR2 a little bit easier. Not gonna have Master Form, which is nice to have because it makes it very easy on the last phase of GR2, but as Wisdom or Final as a backup, it's not as free, so to speak, but it's still pretty good to stun lock GR2 and make it quick.
Yeah, and I would love to know where that Auto Master was.
Exactly.
Something that they've just kind of had for a lot of the seed or something, or if BDBonk did have to it was somewhere quite convenient for them or something. But for the players, I'm probably, it's probably a good thing that they didn't end up having to do some kind of level 7 or even level 6 for BDBonk's, side, blind drive hunt. But for the content for the viewers, I'm sad. It would have been really, really cool for it to go all the way to 7. And there's that Thunder we were curious about. You can see BD skipping all the ability chests now.
Yeah. Saw the Thunder, says, I got what I need. Let's head to get the proof. So, and we see Jared in Hades going to get their second proof of connection, or the second proof, which is going to be connection, and then immediately head into PR right afterwards. I'm curious at what limit forms at as well too. I know it's not needed at all, but I'm kind of curious of where it's at. Levels are still not done either, so it could be somewhere high on a level somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Very possible. Could also just be sitting there in simulated Twilight Town.
It's on OLED, and we just
Space
didn't get to see it
Paranoids.
because he didn't push far enough.
Yeah, Space Paranoids 2 is another option. Beast Castle 2 could still be there. So
These hints were kind of wonky this seed. You kind of had to do a lot of thinking just to kind of narrow it down.
This is definitely one where, like, I'm not surprised if the players hadn't narrowed things down as soon as they could have. Like, it was a tough one. Whenever you have to get down to basically, like, eliminating things from like one proof or from two proofs, but not another, well, really just from one proof, where you can't, like, easily mark it on the tracker in a way that's gonna, like, make logical sense. That can always be pretty tricky. Or, like, when something just becomes the answer because everything else gets eliminated and not, like, because it was narrowed down itself or something. It gets really tricky to do. And yeah, we are seeing Jared starting to head through Port Royal 1, but unless BDBonk has some kind of massive error. BDBonk's trying.
Yeah. He is trying.
I'll give Jared that. BDBonk is trying to throw this one. I don't know what's going on with this fight, but all in jest,
coins,
of course.
Yeah, the coins aren't being nice. Did get 881 on the first phase and just couldn't locate the last one. It was just somewhere on the floor. So this siege is also not playing nice with them either. With the fights in the World That Never Was, GR2, and the coins, the siege just not being nice to them, and they've had to improvise a lot.
Yeah. I will say we are aware from our lovely restreamer tonight and everyone's favorite seed generator developer, mostly because they're mainly the only one, that Automaster was in the Space Paranoids hallway. So thank you, Zach, for letting us know that. So that is something that both players have had for a very long time.
Yeah.
Even if it was past, I don't know if hallway means in that early part or in the, after screens, but either way, it both of them have had it for quite a while. After screens, okay.
Yeah.
Both of them had that for quite a while. So not something where it was like, BDBonk got it by doing all of the World That Never Was for no reason or something, right? Like where it kind of bailed them out. No, it's just something they've both had for a bit. So
yeah,
unfortunate for Jared that the Master Form play didn't end up being a massive factor, but what can you do? That's Rando.
Exactly. Got it naturally, which theoretically is the right choice, but it's just got it the long way around where using Automaster was just a quicker route.
And the thing too is that Jared didn't lose the seed off of like that play.
Yeah.
Like off of the torn pages into LOD. Like that is not the final deciding factor here. It was obviously a big time investment, but both players did the World That Never Was effectively for no reason. Like again, to them, I'm sure it was like they hadn't narrowed peace down yet. It was, or something like that. Like there was a reason for it. It made sense. Not saying that by any means, but like in terms of filler content, like things that could have been eliminated in a perfect scenario, the World Never Was one of them. So if Jared had kind of like made that OC play earlier into Pride Lands, like sooner, they potentially have enough time to do all of Port Royal 1 and come out of this one ahead. But too little too late at this point.
Exactly. Ahead or at least close, really, really close.
Yeah, very close. Yeah.
Very close. They would have been pretty much either entering Final Fights together or one a little bit ahead of the other.
Yeah, because the World That Never Was is not fast. It's not the fastest world, and especially not when they both had slower fights due to just some weaker stats here and there, or some not perfect tools and stuff like that. So, that definitely could have changed things quite a bit. But you can't make every single perfect play when you're doing a randomizer. It's just not the realistic scenario.
With paths, you have to like we said,
you have to do so much thinking.
You have to so much thinking. You have to kind of calculate while you're playing and deciding what to do in that fight, especially going through the World That Never Was. Doing those fights, trying to make sure you don't, die and lose time that way, but also trying to narrow down proofs with the hints that you got. It's a lot to go on. And like I said, not knocking anybody for making you can't always make a perfect choice. Like you said, you can't just have a perfect seed because it is rando, and you're gonna sometimes get, as they say, get randoed.
Yeah,
So
it's tough to make those realizations that to play out that logic in your head. There's been times where I've considered just like straight up having a notepad on my desk. And like the other thing too is that especially at this level of play, you never want to just like stand still and look at the logic, right? Like you always want to feel like you're doing something else, so that way you're being as efficient as possible, always getting the maximum number of checks per minute, the maximum number of progression points per minute. But sometimes when you have a complex logic seed, sometimes that's what you got to do. You can actually save yourself more time in the long run if you just kind of stand still in the GOA for 15 seconds and figure out your logic. But it's so hard to make that kind of call in a head-to-head race.
yeah,
And it's not like you're even gonna guarantee yourself to figure out what what the logic is trying to tell you anyways.
Yeah, and like we said, everybody that's in this top 16 bracket, including yourself, you're playing at the highest caliber, and it feels like if you stand still, you're just wasting time, and you're gonna fall behind. That you kind of have to make a gut reaction, and we saw that with BD going into SDT and then realizing afterwards,
Yeah, absolutely.
saying, "Hey, it's not here. I figured it out, but now I can't leave until I push this a little bit further." So it happens. Like you make small mistakes, but like you said, taking that time, taking that 10, 15 seconds could make the difference of going into a world and being stuck there for a little bit, or going to the right world and starting to clear content and make the right choices.
Yeah, because again, even if like Jared ends up doing the world it never was eventually or something, or thinks they're going to, if they are able in this, like one way that it could have kind of flipped this seed is if they're able to make that deduction, oh wait, Olympus Coliseum is my better play for now, and then the world never was is a very intense world. You have to think about every battle you're doing there. You can't like let your mind wander about the logic while you are fighting through some of the hardest battles in the base game. So if you're in Olympus Coliseum instead, maybe your mind is able to like kind of start thinking more about the logic. Maybe you end up realizing, oh, I don't need to go to the world never was. I can narrow these down, that kind of thing. It's always tricky to say, but yeah, never know.
Exactly. We do have BD here heading into Final Zemnis with good stats on the Magic side, and Reflega should make this Final Zemnis pretty easy, especially has a second chance on once more, so getting hit a couple times, not too scary. At least going to survive that hit.
No limit form. I didn't catch if BD switched back to auto limit. Unfortunately, missing a lot of these reflect timings, so that's going to make this a little scarier because now they have to go into the part with 2 Zemnises here, which kind of makes it harder to land the damage when you need to. Gonna go for the triple reflect here. This won't land because they both spawned up in the air. Little bit of an early session. Gonna have to stop this one and pop a couple of ethers. Is going to push him into the stagger phase first, then pop the ethers.
Probably gonna do All's End here just to safety. No,
I don't think so. Yeah, All's End would have been. They probably would have gotten domed if they did that. But now they should be good.
Yep.
Dome skip. The race completed there at 1:19:51 loadless. We can already see Jared on their side has seen the results as well. So GG's to BD and Jared, not far behind by any means. Quite a close one. Some tougher logic to figure out. Definitely some mistakes on both sides here and there on it, but not in any kind of simple logic seed. Definitely one that is hard to figure out on the fly.
Wasn't a straightforward seed, so yeah, you definitely had to put some thought into this to figure out what your proofs were. Both did what they thought was right, which is, like I said, no harm, no foul, and you can't fault them for pushing content that they thought was correct at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's even in I want to make it very clear for chat, even when I'm sitting here half in jest saying like this is a mistake or something, we have perfect knowledge because it's not even just the two of us up here, because it's hard for us to reason about it sometimes. We've also got Zach restreaming for us. We've got everybody in chat helping us out. So like, and we're seeing two perspectives of the game. So it's very, very difficult to figure out all this like perfect knowledge as you're going. But if we could take a look at the bracket. Oh, Limit Form was on level 50. Wow.
Level 50.
You called it. You called it. They're on levels.
High level.
But yeah, taking a look at the bracket now, we were looking at losers round 1, that side of the bracket. So unfortunately, that does mean Jared is knocked out of the league for 2024. So thank you so much, Jared, for participating. Put up a great showing. This is just a super tough bracket. And BDBonk moving on to face Ninten as their next opponent. Ninten, not somebody that I think anybody was expecting to be in losers round 2. So this is going to be a tough match up next. But you really, you can say it about every single match.
Yeah, it's good. You, like I said at the beginning, no side is going to be an easy route to get to that finals. The grand finals, it's just you're going to have to play your very best to get there.
Yeah, like no one ever was. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much, Herdez. I've been Jay Hobbs, and we will catch you all for some more KH2 FM Randomizer next time there's another match. I believe tomorrow.
Yes. Adios.